Are MREs a good source for food storage program for preppers? Hi, Craig here again with some sensible survival tips, preppers tips. MREs, meals ready to eat. This is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to have some basic starting knowledge and we're going to have some advanced knowledge too. The video might be kind of long, bear with it if you want to keep watching. We're going to have some good information about storing, looking at dates, contents, and so on with MREs and if they're good for prepping or not. So what is an MRE? MRE is an acronym, Meal Ready to Eat, MRE. But look at that TM at the end of it. It is a trademark name. Maybe not have known that. MRE is a trademark name, so you won't see this name all around the world. Here they're using it in the case of the U.S. military. We're going to be talking about mostly U.S. military surplus MREs in this video. For instance, this case here was from Canada. It's called an IMP, Individual Meal Pack. All around the world, militaries make these same kind of things for their militaries. They're going to be called different things. They won't be called MREs. But this is basically what we're going to be talking about in general in this video. This is a meal ready to eat. This is a package, all in one, that contains one meal for one soldier. That's its intended use. 3 of these together would be a meal for a day for one soldier, with the proper amount of calories and nutrition, supposedly, according to the U.S. military, that a soldier needs to remain in the field. It's basically a meal that you can eat right out of the package, doesn't need water for the most part, and doesn't need heating. It's basically ready to eat, hence the name. MREs, that's what we're going to be talking about. These behind me are military cases, but we've got all sorts of others here. Now let's show you, for example, civilian versions. If I zoom out. These are civilian versions of MREs, but they're called, in this case, self-heating emergency meal, or in this case, emergency ration meals. Same idea. It's a package with multiple things in there. Now, the package will generally say on front of it, the main menu will be shown there. In this case, ratatouille. There's no rat in ratatouille, they say. At least that's what they tell me. So this is actually a meal. The main dish in there looks like this, and it's ratatouille. Now inside you're generally going to have a box that looks like this, and the pouch will be in here. Yeah, the main dish is a pouch. Generally 8 ounces, flexible. It's a pouch instead of a can. Now, this one is chili mac with beef, and like you might get in a can, for instance. Same idea, because the old MREs, the old ones from back like World War II era, K rations and C rations, were actually in a can, a little small can. So basically, an 8-ounce pouch instead of roughly 15 ounces for a typical can. You got about twice the food in a can. This is the main dish of an MRE, in a pouch instead of a can. But also in that MRE, you're going to have all sorts of other things. Let's grab a bunch of this stuff here. Not only your main pouch, you're going to have, there's going to be about 7 or 8 things in most MREs. I think all of them are going to have, let me see if I can find it in this pile here, because I just grabbed everything. I don't even see the crackers. All of them are basically going to have crackers in them, for the most part. They'll also have something like, for the crackers, they'll have either peanut butter, or a cheese spread with jalapenos. They might have coffee in them. They might have cocoa powder. You have to have, that'd be the only thing you need water for, really, the powdered drink mixes. Cocoa, or this one's orange, cherry, grape, whatever. You'll need drinkable water for those. This is peanuts here, roasted peanuts. You'll have all sorts of things in there. And each one will be a little bit different. There also is going to be, put this up down here, there'll be a condiment package, which will have your knife and fork if you need it, or this one has a Tabasco sauce, a little bottle of Tabasco sauce. And there'll be a moist towelette, maybe some salt and pepper, maybe a napkin, some salt, a lot of different things in there. And it'll also have a heater. If it's a military version, this is a heater. Yeah, this is actually meant to be heating up your pouch with just a little bit of water. Yep, because inside here you have some chemical packets which have, I believe it's salt and magnesium. And when you put this in, when you have it wet inside there, it creates heat. So you tear open the top of this, you slide your entree down inside there, and then you fill it with water, but you only fill it, well, there's only about a tablespoon or two that gets to the bottom. Between those lines, you only fill it up a little bit. Then you get the packets exposed to the water, then you fold this over, and within about 10 or 15 minutes, you'll have a hot meal. That's the idea behind the heaters on the MRE. So they're very convenient. You can have a hot meal with just a little bit of water from a ditch or a swamp. But the rest of the things in there, the only other thing you need water for is the drink mix, and the drink mix you will need clean water. So other than that, you don't need water for it. You do not have to heat it up because you can eat that cold, just like you could eat the chili mac cold out of a can. You can eat those cold, but it's nice to have a hot meal. So that's basically what you're going to find inside of an MRE, and there's going to be different sides in them. Behind me you see a bunch of cases. These are full cases. Inside these full cases are 12 different meals, 12 different main entrees. And with each one of those individual meals, there's going to be different sides in them. You might have raisins, you might have a cookie, a brownie, shortbread. There'll be all sorts of other things inside these. So if you take one out and eat it for lunch, and you take another one and eat for dinner, more than likely you're going to have completely different things. You probably still have crackers, but for the most part, and a powdered drink mix, but they mix it up a bit. So you're going to have 12 different meals in a case, 2 of which will be vegetarian. Now, there are 2 different types of cases. We're talking U.S. military here now. There's an A case and a B case. 12 different meals, 12 different meals. So a total of 24 different meals. And they change them all the time. For instance, if you're familiar with MREs, you'll know that these don't exist anymore. Look at the flavors here. These are not available anymore. Although this is fairly recent. The beef ravioli they had up until a few years ago. And they might bring these flavors back. But every year, if you buy an A and B case in 2017, and then you buy in 2018, you buy an A and a B case, you're going to find some different meals in there. Every year, about 3 to 4 meals out of that 24 get changed out to a different meal, a different menu. And it changes year to year. Some classics like chili mac with beef stay around forever, or spaghetti. I don't think spaghetti is available right now anymore, but a lot of things will stay around for a long time, but others come and go. So you're going to find different meals. So it's a good variety in these cases. You got a good variety of meals. They're all still MREs though. Okay, what's next? We got to go through dating. We got to go through pricing, through storage, longevity, and a note about the civilian ones before I forget. These are just 2 examples. This is a company called AmeriQual that makes this. Same AmeriQual that makes it for the military. Sopaco, same company that makes it for the military. You'll have them by a company called Warnick, and also MRE Star, all made in the U.S. Those are some of the different government contractors that make these meals for the military. Now, although some collectors and enthusiasts about MREs, yes, there are MRE collectors, believe it or not, they will tell you that there's slight differences between the ones from Warnick to Sopaco or whatever. They're all made to the same military spec. For preppers' purposes, there really isn't any difference. It's not the best food in the world. You'll find all sorts of videos on YouTube here, people opening up ones that are 20, 30 years old and taste testing them, and they're everywhere. But basically, they're all packaged the same. They're all the same military specs. If all your neighbors are eating bugs and grass, nobody's going to be complaining about these MREs. Got me? Some people that are ex-military, they don't want to see another MRE in their entire life. They don't have anything to do with those anymore. I had enough of those, I can't stand them anymore. Or they come back and buy a specific flavor that they did like, whatever. Or just buy them for memories. But it's still food you can eat, and they taste decent enough. In my opinion, all the ones I've ever tasted are decent enough. Now, let's see here. Storage and longevity. Let's go with that next. Heat is a big killer of MREs. You do not want to have them in a hot place. You don't want to have them, preferably cool and dry. That's the ideal. We're going to be over dates here. They have 3-year inspection dates. That doesn't mean they expire. I'll go over that in a minute. But basically, you don't want to keep them around for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I would suggest eat them up within 10 years. That's my personal opinion. They have 3-year inspection dates on them. I'm going to go over that. But you really want to eat them up with about 10 years. Some things in those MREs, the crackers might be stale. The drink mix might be fused together like a rock. The oils and the peanut butter might be rancid. There will be some things that start going bad after 20 years. I have some that are 20 years. This is 20 years old. And my experiments, notice the color difference, by the way. If you see this dark brown wrapper, that's going to be one from the 80s and 90s, when they came out, the early 80s. That's going to be 20 years old or older. The modern ones, as of 2018, when I'm filming this, look more like this. These are going to be older ones. These are still good, for the most part. Things are going to be bad in there, though. So if you really want your food storage, don't want to waste your investment, buy them, use them, rotate them, like any other food item. Buy, use, rotate. Use it or lose it. Because after so much time, this will be going bad. This one, and this is a classic. Notoriously classic. People in the military used to call this the 4 fingers of death. Along with the cheese omelet that nobody liked. Beef frankfurters, about the size of your fingers. The 4 fingers of death. Got it? But if they're that dark brown wrapper, they're going to be old. You can find the dates on the cases. You can find the dates on the MREs, too. We're going to talk about dates, so maybe we can go ahead and do the dates now. But you want to keep them in a cool, dry place. Ideally. All right, dates. Well, first let's go by manufacturers and weights. These are 2 different cases. You see, this one is made by Ameriqual in Evansville, Indiana. This one's made by the Warren Company in Cincinnati, Ohio. Essentially, the food is in there is going to be basically the same. Again, they're made to the same military specs. But look at the weights on this. 20.7 pounds for this whole case. 21.8 pounds. Now, that's not the manufacturer. That's different years. Let me show you. These are 2 different years of cases. Get them so they're visible, writing on them. Okay, by snugging them up here by my hand and putting in my yellow shirt here so you can see that one case is about an inch bigger and it's also taller. It's more food. They actually put our military on a bit of a diet about 5 years ago. And so if the older cases can be easily determined too by the writing on the front. Do not handle, by the way, do not handle when frozen. These can be frozen and thawed and frozen again, etc. But if they're rough handled, you can understand that the plastic packaging here, if it's frozen and brittle, could break, right? That's why they say do not handle rough, but they can be frozen. So you can store them in a place where they get frozen. But look at the difference in the writing here. Do not handle rough frozen. Now look at this one, has French writing on it above that part, right below the MRE, the meal ready to eat. If you see the French writing on these are the newer ones, and these are the ones that have the lower weight, but they're going to be the newer ones. This one doesn't have the French writing on it. Why French? I don't know. But it's just, Spanish probably be a little more appropriate, but no, it's French. So anyway, the dates on these is what we're going to examine next. Before I get onto the date, I get off track a lot. The sticker here. Okay, this is a B case. See the sticker here, this orange sticker. Now that sticker has like a black donut on the sticker. This is a heat sensitive sticker. When this gets too hot, there won't be a donut hole anymore. It'll be black in the middle. This is your indication of if you're buying MREs by the case. Look for this sticker. If it's black in the middle, you know it's been overheated and you either don't want to buy it or you want to pay a whole lot less for it. Okay? So let's look at the dates on these now and tell you how to read them, because frankly, let's go with this one here. This one's easier to read. This one's easier to read. On the top here we have a series of numbers. Inspection date and date of manufacture, or in this case packaged, because packaged and manufacturing is different because they have 3-year inspection dates. In other words, the date of its packaging, October of 2010, inspection date, October of 2013. So you'll see a 3-year difference between these dates. There's actually 3.5-year-old food. It's actually 3.5 years, but they put them in quarantine for 6 months. They do some testing before they actually release them, put them in a package, release them. So, but anyway, you're going to have 3-year difference between these dates. Now, inspection date does not mean expiration date. Don't get that idea. Just like the military has dates on everything, does not mean they expire. It just means that's when they come. They come and look at the sticker. They come and see if they got wet, see if they've been smashed or overheated or a rodent problem. They inspect them. That's all that means. And it's inspection date. It doesn't mean that's when they expire. All right? Now, so this is very clear. It shows a date of packaging and a date of inspection. This other case here, for example, is not as clear. The inspection date is fairly clear, March of 2018, but the date of packaging is not so clear unless you know what to look for. And I'm going to show you what to look for now, because the same dating system is generally applied to a lot of different food items, even in your grocery store, if they don't have clear dates. This 4-digit number is what you're looking for. 5084. This tells me the date it was made, or the date it was packaged, I'm sorry. The first number is the last number of the year. So in this case, that would be 2015, the date of packaging. And that would jive with what we show here of an inspection date 3 years later, of 2018. So the first number is the last number of the year. The next 3 numbers are the day of the year. 365 days in a year. This was made on the 84th day of 2015, so it would be in March of, in this case, 2015. That 4-digit number applies to a lot of different food items. This is what you want to look for when you're looking for dates on MREs. On the individual packages, you will sometimes see them. They're sometimes really hard to see, but you'll see a date stamped somewhere, either on the top or bottom. Sometimes it'll be small, sometimes it'll be bigger. I can just barely read that. There's a number stamped there. There is numbers stamped on the individual MREs as well. But it's going to be that 4-digit number. It's not going to be the full date, the regular date like you're used to seeing on some other things. Okay, so what else about these cases, the full cases? That's the dates. I would recommend, oh, and by the way, sometimes they even do this. And I see this quite often. The sticker isn't really good there, but basically inspection test date extended to, they had a year to it. Yeah, they come around sometimes when they inspect them, and they still want to keep them longer for whatever reason. Slap a sticker on there every year later, come and inspect them again. Generally, you won't see these on the market when they're still in date too readily. I have a bunch of 2019s here, but they don't, generally they don't get out to the surplus market in date that much, okay? They do get in the market, and they are legal. There's some gray area. They are legal to own, for civilians to own, even though they have warnings on the packaging about commercial sales unlawful. They are legal to own. You can, people in the military can actually buy these in commissary and take them home if they want. Basically, then that'll be the freshest ones, the ones that are purchased by the military and taken home. Those you're going to find those to be about 140 bucks a case. Pricing. Did I go over pricing yet? You're going to find these for about individual packaging like this. Typically, you're going to find them like at a gun show. That type of place is typically where you're going to be able to find these individual packaging. Some other places too, but it's kind of touch and go where you can find them. But generally, you'll find somebody at a gun show selling these, and they're going to sell between $5 and $10. That's just for one meal. In date, okay? In date cases, anywhere between $50 and $100 for in date cases. Out of date individuals, maybe $4 to $8. Out of date cases, maybe $40 to $80, $40 to $90. Really depends on what the date is on them, of what you expect to pay. So that's kind of an expensive meal. So you're talking $5 to $6 generally for a single MRE by the case. Not the cheapest food. And let's talk about a little bit about usage. MREs are extremely convenient because you really don't need any water or any preparation whatsoever. You can pretty much eat them on a package. You don't even have to heat them up. You can eat them cold. They're ready to eat. That's super convenient. Okay? Chili with beans. Right off the bat. There's lots of other different methods of food storage. I have other videos on my channel about that. Freeze-dried food is also very convenient and also very expensive. So freeze-dried food and MREs are comparable in that respect, although MREs are even a little bit more convenient because if I have a chili mac with beef, well, I say chili mac with beef, and freeze-dried ration, I'm not going to be able to eat that just dry. I'm going to have to add clean drinking water to it and eat it cold that way, or boil some water and have it hot that way. So it's not quite as convenient. Now, freeze-dried food, such as plain fruits and vegetables, then that's a different story. You can just eat them right out of the package. No preparation needed, so those are as convenient. But basically, MREs are slightly more convenient than freeze-dried food, but they're about as expensive. Freeze-dried food is very expensive. MRE is very expensive. Freeze-dried food is very convenient. MRE is very convenient, maybe even a little more convenient. So they have an advantage there. A great thing now, back here in the U.S., back last year, 2017, we had a bunch of hurricanes. One in Texas, one in Florida, and one in Puerto Rico. I'll take the one in Florida as an example, as a good reason why you might want to have some MREs, even if you have other food storage methods. People had to evacuate the state. For the most part, most of the people got out of the state of Florida. It's a long drive. Let's say you only had to have a tank when you started your trip. You're listening on the news, and they're not able to get fuel, keep up with the fuel at the gas station, so you don't even know if you're going to make it. Throw a few of these in the car, hit the road, hope for the best. If you get stranded, keep your windows rolled up. You can ride out that storm more than likely pretty safely in your car, and you'll have food you can eat right out of the packaging. The water, you can even heat up. You can give it a little bit of rainwater, and you can even use the heater in it. Might even be able to safely use that for your drinking water for the if you're able to collect that much for your drink mix. The point is, it's super convenient. You'd have food. Now you can survive. You might be on the road there for a couple days, waiting till things got straightened out enough where you could actually get gas, whatever. 2-3 days, you could eat without. You could go without eating for 2 to 3 days, but it'd be nice to have something in the car to eat, and an MRE would be ideal for you. Now that being said, I would not keep these stored in your car. A lot of people do. They keep a couple in their car, and that's fine as long as you change them out about every year. In the summertime, that car is going to get over 100 degrees in that car at some point, and these will basically be not really any good anymore. So I would recommend, if you do that method, at the end of summer, you use them up or throw them away. Then put in a couple more. After the summer's over with, change them up. Then you have food for the most part until summer is available again, and then you have MREs that go bad. Heat is your big killer. Do not store these in the attic. Store them in the basement or something. You can get them wet, but you don't want to overheat them. Cool, dry place is ideal for MREs. And if you keep them in a cool, dry place, within 10 years, you're probably not going to have any problems with any of your food within 10 years. 20 years might be a different story. Now, speaking of the 20 years, I have here as an example one way I did for these old ones. And I can show you the date, although you might not be able, probably won't be able to read it. The packaging here, they're not meant for individual sale. And although there is writing here, and I have to use a magnifying glass to see it, I see the date on here, 7031. 7031. So, pop quiz. What's the date? Well, remember this first number 7. So it's 2017, right? Well, no, I actually bought this before then, so, okay. 2007. No, not that either, because I bought this in the 90s. So this would be 1997 and 031. So that'd be January 31st of 1997. But this will still be good, more than likely. Generally, the pouches with the main entree will still be good after 20 years. Some of the sides will not be. But here's an example of how I stored them. The pouches were stored inside this ammo can. It's a 25 millimeter U.S. military surplus ammo can, and I got a whole lot of MREs in there. MRE entrees, these are just the entrees. Now the entrees you can usually get for about $3. They come like this initially in the boxes, but then you can take them out of the boxes and put them in there if you don't need to have the nutrition information and all that. And you can put them in there. And the advantage here, to keep them dry, even if they're floating in water, although this is too heavy, I think it would sink. To keep them dry, and it is rodent proof. No rodent's going to chew through this. Maybe not bulletproof, but rodent proof. Very strong case. To use your imagination how you want to store them. It'd be a lot harder to do that with ammo cans with the full meals. But that's up to you, whichever type you want to get, and however you want to store them. Just keep them in a cool, dry place if possible. Heat is your biggest enemy of MREs. This is high in fat, high in sodium, high in calories. It's meant to keep a soldier going. Freeze-dried food is going to be a lot better nutrition-wise. Freeze-dried food, 97 to 98% of its nutritional value held in the food. MREs, like canned goods, about 40 to 60% of its nutritional value is going to be maintained in that form of storage method. So freeze-dried food has the advantage there. MREs have the advantage of being even a little bit more convenient than freeze-dried food. Okay, what else have I not covered here? The weird MREs, all right? We've been talking about standard military MREs and standard entrees of MREs that can be bought on the market. There are other things too, and YouTube is full. I would think YouTube, if YouTube isn't full of it, I may have to do some videos myself. There are some rare MREs. These next 3 items I'm going to describe, you probably won't ever encounter them in your prepping. You might. One is, well, we can see that, long-range patrols. LRPs, LRP, LRPs, long-range patrols. That is a freeze-dried ration. This is actually made by Oregon Freeze Dry. The main entree is made by Oregon Freeze Dry. That's the military contractor that makes, they also make a Mountain House brand freeze-dried food. The entree in there will last more than 30 years. However, all the sides in there, it still has the same types of side entrees in that LRP package. And so these will probably go bad long before the main entree goes bad. So, but anyway, you aren't likely to encounter these because frankly, every time I get them, I have them sold before I even get them in my hands. I already have buyers for these. Same goes for something called MOREs, M-O-R-E, all these acronyms, right? MORE stands for, let's see if I can remember, Modular Operational Ration Enhancement, M-O-R-E. This is another type of packaging. It's a little bit smaller than a regular MRE. I don't have any here to show you at the moment. It's like a snack. It's between meals. It's high in calories. They have a cold weather version and a hot weather version. So with times when you might need more calories to keep going, these are like a snack item. They're called MOREs. These are all great to have. The same kind of rules apply as far as dates, as far as longevity and packaging and so on. Same kind of rules apply. There's also something called First Strike rations. First Strike rations are basically just giant MREs. They're 24 hours of food instead of 8 hours of food. They're 3 times the amount of food. They're in bigger packaging, and they're meant for being in a situation where you only want to carry 1 packet. You aren't likely to see those either again. And all these others that I just mentioned, these 3 others that I just mentioned, you probably can see videos on YouTube about them. I would think so. The collector's really big. Some people collect these, and there's hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube with these old videos. These aren't old. These are modern though. These are modern, and you probably can find more information if you want about them. But they're generally more expensive. You aren't going to be able to find them as readily as you're going to find these, or especially the civilian versions of the MREs. If I didn't say before, the civilian versions, 14 meals in this one, for instance. Same weight of the case, so they're smaller meals, and they generally bump the calories up with sugar, something of that nature. So they're not quite as good as the military ones, but they're much cheaper and more readily available. And the main entree is made by the same manufacturer that makes the military ones. The entrees will be pretty much the exact same thing as these. I have full cases of entrees, just entrees up here. Generally, they come in different ways, but for instance, this one here, I just pulled this off the shelf. Cherry Blueberry Cobbler. And this is how they come in a case in this particular instance from the Warrant Company out of Cincinnati, Ohio, you see. And you might have this as a side in a regular MRE. You never know what you're going to find in there because they're all a little bit different. So there's lots of ways to buy these meals ready to eat, and a lot of different names they come under. And I hope this video has got you on a starting point. I would generally recommend for any food storage program you do a little bit of everything. Try everything out. Use it a little bit. Try it out. MRE is just one of those. You can do growing your own food, of course, packaging your own grocery store items, bulk grains, corn, beans, wheat, rice, things like that. Not convenient, but real cheap, right? Freeze-dried food and MREs are the reverse of that. They're very expensive, but they're super convenient. Hard red winter wheat, that's not really a meal. It's going to make a lot of work to make it into something that you might be edible at all, right? So it's a trade-off. MREs have their place. I would recommend having some. Don't overdo it. And if you do overdo it, use them up. Rotate them. Use them. Use them or lose them. That's the same with all your food storage items. So I hope I've covered virtually everything. I had so many things to cover and I didn't have any notes here, so I just did it off the top of my head. But I hope if people like this, you can ask questions in the comments below. I try to answer. I generally monitor all my comments sections, and you can see other people's videos if you want more details about what's in these things. So thanks everybody for watching. So long.